Hello! Welcome to Ivana's Noshk Life. Today I'm gonna answer some of the questions you asked me in the comments, and they are related to the topic about PhD interview questions and questions you should ask on the interview. Today I want to present you a selection of the PhD questions that I divided into 3 different categories. The first category is more common questions. Then the second question is more specific to the topic or more rare questions. And the third group of the questions, it's from me and my colleagues. So, for example, what I experienced, what I was asked on my interview, what I would ask on the interview if I were hiring the PhD student, and also I asked some of my colleagues which questions they would have asked you if you applied for their PhD position. And I want to finish today's presentation with the suggestion for you with 5 questions will help you to lift yourself up in the interview process. So let's start. Every typical PhD interview would start with the first question. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background. And this is where you need to start explaining or telling about your academic background, about your bachelor's, about your master's. And this question is mainly asked to relax you a bit and to give you a possibility to get into the mood of the interview, and also to look what you highlight about yourself. What do you think about what is so good about you? The second question is more about practical experience. Can you tell about if you have work experience, you need to talk about your work experience or like your academic experience. And then you may say, wait, I don't have any article published. Wait, I actually don't have this experience. It's not correct. Your bachelor and your master, it's your academic experience, and you can talk about your how you wrote your thesis, how you worked on your thesis, the process of your thinking, like how you define the questions, how you answer. This you can highlight in this question. Then another set of the questions would be about why actually you want to become a PhD, what is your motivation, why have you selected this university, how do you fit for this specific position, especially if it's a position within some project. It's really critical questions. Then another set of questions in the common group, it is how do you deal with stress, because PhD itself, all these 3-4 years of your PhD in Norway, they will be stressful. So it's very critical for us to understand how you deal with stress. How do you deal with conflicts? What are your strengths and weaknesses? It's more like common, typical questions. What difficulties would you expect to encounter during this project? So what you think can be hard to do and how you think to tackle this. Future plans in your career is also one of the common questions. And another one, it's actually why do you want to move to Norway? So, and then this is more like common questions, and of course the common question, it is the last one, your questions to us, but we will talk about suggestions for you, my 5 question suggestion for you in the end. That was all for the common questions. If you apply for some technical or engineering PhD position, most likely you will get a question about your tech stack. If you are programming or your task will be related to programming, it could be about what type of software do you plan to use. Then also in the same group, it will be maybe some theoretical questions. It could be some literal theoretical tasks. So you need to be prepared to some extent for the already topic your research is supposed to be about, to be able to talk on this topic. Then another question that could be asked to you, it is your biggest achievement in your life. What are the skills that you could improve by working in this research group or in this project? And another one is what would be your advantages taking this position? Now we are coming to the last group of the PhD interview questions. It is questions from me and my colleagues, I would say like that, or what I have experienced and what I've heard from my colleagues in my university. They are actually very specific for a person who is interviewing you and who will be most probably your supervisor. So in the interview process, you will have most likely 3 persons, and each of them, they will ask you some questions. Yes, you will have this common group of questions asked you, but you will also have some specific questions. For example, it could be, how do you plan to communicate your research? And in this, it is expected that you are aware about different journal conferences. So then another one, it will be, how many articles do you plan to publish? And what type of articles you need to say if it's a journal. So for example, I plan to publish 5, 3 or something. For some people it is critical and they can ask you this question, and I know that some of my colleagues, they actually ask this question. Also, for me, I would like to see if you understand how you are planning to work with your supervisor. So what is your expectation of the supervisor, or do you need to be told what to do in your research? Or you more self-driven and you want to find what to do and then only ask your supervisor for the feedback, suggestion and for discussions, rather than saying, okay, now you read this article, then next week you read this article, and then you read this article. So I would build a question about kind of how do you imagine that you received offer for this position and you start working. How do you imagine the working or like collaboration between you and your supervisor? This question I was asked on my PhD interview. If you come to a place where you don't know what to do in your research, what would you do? So I remember I was so stressed. My interview was in Norwegian, but this question I really remember very well. It was like over 5 years ago, but I still remember this question because it was stressful for me to answer, and that I wasn't that ready for this type of question. So this was a set of special questions for me, but remember that every single person would have their own question. You cannot get prepared to all imaginary questions. You just need to be honest about yourself. You need to show that you are self-driven, if you are self-driven, that you are motivated, that you plan to finish your PhD, that you plan some career, also about your future. It's very nice to say about your future plans. Do you plan to go for postdoc, or what is your future plans? So all of that, it helps us to understand what is your motivation behind the application. Is it just to come to Norway for 3 years and that's all? If it's the only motivation just to live a bit in Norway and save up some money, this is not the proper motivation for the PhD. I will be honest with you, because PhD is not an easy life, and your supervisor will be stressed a lot if you do so, because we spend a lot of time and energy to get funding for these positions, and we want people who appreciate these positions and want to contribute to the research. This is very important for us, the people who are on the other side of the process. And therefore, the last question about your questions to us also can highlight your personality and help to lift you up among all of the applicants. And I want to give you my recommendations, my top 5 questions that I want to highlight to you. You can feel free to modify them and develop your own questions. For example, you can ask about are there any possibility of teaching or assisting in teaching? Then you can ask about, does the department or university provides any support in learning Norwegian language? You also may ask what other research topics are in this department outside of your research project that you applied for. And this question is more about that you want to learn more some other skills, and you want to collaborate with other people inside the research group. Other PhD students that work with similar research topic, or would you be by yourself? So I think that this is very nice question to ask, really good question. And the last one, it's more like if it's important to you, then I would recommend you to ask. It's about any social events or activities for the PhD candidates. So this is a bit from me to you about PhD interview process from the internal person who works at the university and who went through those interviews a couple of times. So look more into the field that you will be working on, which type of conferences are there, journals that counts good. You can use ResearchGate for that, to ask other people their suggestions. Look at the department description, at the research group description of the contact person for your PhD application. Look on the articles and topics this professor works with, and be prepared not only to the PhD description topic generally, but more be prepared on these topics, like more generic about the university and research in general. And also do not ask questions that you can find on the internet on the description of the university. I don't recommend you to ask these type of questions, kinda, what type of courses can I take? It's open at NTNU, for example. You can go and look on all PhD courses that are available to you, the same on other Norwegian universities. So don't ask these type of questions, because this information is in the internet, and that it will show to the interviewer that you don't know how to search for information, and this can highlight the question to your person from us. So you see, that's why it's so important to ask good questions in the end, and do not mess up the whole interview process by only last question you ask. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and see you next time. Bye!